Hi guys, in this video I'm going to show you how I went about making these stands for freestanding acoustic panels for my studio.
So all you're going to need are two sheets of timber. One is an 18 by 70 mil profile timber that's 2,400 millimeters long, and the other plank is a 34 by 44 millimeter that's also 2,400. And what you're going to do is cut the 34 by 44 in half, and you're going to cut this bit into 6 pieces of 40 centimeters, 400 millimeters length. And what I found was neither of these bits of wood were cut to exactly 2,400 mil, 2.4 meters. There was a little bit short. So what I did in practice was to, for the bit that required the 6 pieces, I did 4 at 40 centimeters, and the last 2 pieces were about 38.5 centimeters. So what you get are 4 pieces of 40 centimeters, 2 pieces here of 38.5, and you can see these bits are roughly 1.2 meters high. Now what's going to happen is that our acoustic panel is going to sit on these impalers, but on the other side of the sheet when it's turned over. So I'm quite happy for these to fall down close to the table that I'm resting on here, because the other side is going to be the front, and that will make these pieces flush with that piece there. Okay, so having just shown you my layout, I realised that I had these pieces on their side. I really want them to have the long side up rather than in landscape mode, so portrait rather than landscape, because I want as much front to back profile here in which to attach the feet. Having done that, we're going to mark up where our pilot holes are going to be. To do this, I'm going to use these pieces that I've cut for the feet, which I will put sideways like that because they're the same depth as these cross panels here. And just a word on where I've placed the cross panels. So I've lined up the top strap here against the top of the leg, and then the one below, all I've done is just move it until this impaler, the holes are roughly in the middle of the wood. I'm not worried about it being super accurate because all this is not going to be seen behind the panel, but I do want it to be fairly square, and provided you've cut your edges square, it should just sit nice and square. So having done that, I'm just going to use the pencil against this piece of wood to get my depth of the wood on the other side, and I'm simply going to mark up roughly 1/3 of the way along in each case for our pilot holes, and that's done like so, and then similarly here too. Okay, all I've done, I'm not trying to be too accurate here, is try and get the pilot hole halfway between the edge and that line. Okay, similarly at the bottom, what I'm going to do here is measure my bottom strap roughly 40 centimeters from the base of the leg on both sides. Just go up a little bit. Provided I've got the top edge lined up and it's fairly square, this should also sit fairly square against these bits here. So having done that, again I'm just going to use the impaler to work out where the top strap needs to be, and it needs to come down a bit, probably to about there. Okay. That's given me the distance I need between the 2 straps. So I'm just going to draw another line here with my pencil.
make some pencil marks here for our pilot holes. And then I will do the same on the other side. Okay, so having drawn my pencil marks for my pilot holes, I'm now going to drill the pilot holes. And initially, I'm not going to drill through the upright into the cross bars just yet. I just want to try and get these in place, which I will do like this. The reason being, I want these holes in position before I drill this one. So we'll just okay. Okay, I'm not being hyper accurate here. I am just simply trying to get them perpendicular to the table. No doubt guys that are really into their woodwork will be cringing at what I'm doing now, but I don't need this to look pretty, I just need it to work, because it's going to be hidden by the acoustic panel. So now that I've drilled the uprights, I'm going to countersink the holes using one of these. And we'll just quickly do that so that our screws sit flush. Okay, so now we are ready to put the screws in, and this is the bit where you have to be quite careful. And the first thing I'm going to do is to extend the pilot hole into the crossbars, and we're going to be very careful to line these up, making sure that they're nice and flush. I'm just going to go through the existing pilot hole and create the first hole. Okay, and then I am going to change the bit for the screwdriver bit, and using this 60mm screw I will secure the first crossbar. Now you've got to keep it quite tight and keep it very square using your hands or clamps if you've got them. I'm just using my hands, should be okay I hope. Here we go. Now what I'm doing is just leaving it slightly undone, and that's just so that I can square things up a little bit more later afterwards. So now that I've got the first pilot hole in, I can do the second one, because the first one's nice and secure now with that screw being in there. So again, I'm just going to hold this quite tight and make sure it's as square as I can make it, and we'll just use the drill. Start the pilot hole. Now the pilot holes are important. If you don't do these, you will split these bits, crossbars here, because they are quite thin. So we're ready for our second screw here. Just hold it in position again. And we'll leave it a little bit proud for the time being. Excellent, so that's our first bar done. We're going to do our second one now, and so on. So just to make sure I've got my size, I'm going to get the impaler. I'll just check it again, seems to be fine. Make sure that this piece of wood is square with the two holes I've prepared. And again, I will do my first pilot hole, add in the screw, then do my second pilot hole once the screw's in position. Now, it would really help if I had a second drill bit or an electric screwdriver. I don't. feeling slightly proud, we'll just drill our second pilot hole and solder it on. Okay, so the next stage is to add the impalers, which we do like this. Just roughly line it up with the middle. This is not going to be seen either, so we can hide it away afterwards quite happily. Just hold this like this. Okay, the final stage is to fit the feet, and here what I'm going to do is with our 38.5cm pieces, I'm going to measure back 20 centimeters so that the bulk of the foot is going to stick out in front of the upright. Because it'll be against the wall, I don't want it toppling forward, so I need most of the length there with a little bit of length behind to stop it falling back as well. So having gone 20 centimeters, I'll just mark that space there. And then I want to go back, bearing in mind that the size of the upright is, the depth is 44. I'm going to just measure that there. And then create a couple of screw hole, pilot holes in the middle. I'm not worried about being too accurate on any of this because I can position it once it's in place. So I'll just do that with the other one. Okay, and then I'm just going to drill and countersink my pilot holes. Now we want these countersunk screw heads to be quite deep because we don't want any of the screw head protruding from the bottom of the stand. So now that we've done that, we can line our foot up with the base of the upright using the line we've drawn to get it roughly in the right position. And we want it to be in the middle of the upright. So once it is, so to begin with, we're just going to put in one screw. So there we have our stand, and I've put in one screw so far just so that I can line it up, make sure these are perpendicular and look nice and neat. But you can see this wood is quite forgiving, so there's a lot of room to manipulate things afterwards. So all I'll do now is to drill in the pilot hole for the other foot, and then I'll put in another screw just to straighten that and solidify it, and then we're ready to mount our acoustic panel. So here's the frame in situ behind my studio desk, and here's one I did earlier, and I'm just going to line this one up with that and try and get them to go in. Now, when using these impalers, obviously the panel is to fall down onto the impaler, so you need to sort of mount it a little bit up from where you want it. I'm going to just do it like that, press it against the impaler, and then drop it down carefully. That's looking just about right. And the floor here unfortunately is a little bit uneven, so they don't quite match up. Just bring this one forward a bit. And there's going to be a third one of these to the right of these two, and the idea will be that these will dampen the sound behind my studio monitors.
Let's all get to know